Asteroid of fear.
Welcome to another episode of the Men of the House podcast. That's right. I believe this is episode 115. Trying something a little new. I'm going without the headphones today, so I can actually hear when Zoom said recording. They just look big and clunky, so I'm gonna give it a whirl without it. Hopefully, I dialed in the sound. Prior to then. But yeah, I got to get this the show on the road. Got a lot to do today. It is Sunday morning. You guys will be hearing this Monday, sometime in the morning or afternoon, depending on where you're tuning in from. Yeah, I got a busy day ahead. We got some stuff to drop off for that annual sale we do twice a year. Get rid of things, clear out the clutter. Perfect time to part with stuff. I've had a storage unit for 10 years since we moved here. So we need to get that stuff out. Too much. But anywho, we're doing this solo episode for the moment, and we will be getting back to interviews. I'm getting ready to interview this week Ryan McCauley. Hopefully that will be Friday's episode. We were going to interview last week, but it kind of fell through. Part of entrepreneurship, podcasting, etc. Being family men, having children, having to rely on babysitters, other caregivers. Things happen. But that's the great thing about this is it's not a missed opportunity. We get to circle back around. And yeah, so I'm getting ready to do that. And of course, go back on Podmatch and start interviewing people, start telling people stories because that's what I enjoy doing and finding the silver lining. So yeah, but in order to get back on track, get back on schedule, we're releasing episodes, solo or interviews. I have some thoughts for the week, written down some things, and surely there's some nuggets of truth and value within them somewhere. And if nothing else, then hey, they're just great reminders for me. And sometimes this is for me, or when my daughter wants to go back and listen to it when she's older, it's a little word of inspiration. But that kind of brings me to my first point, was something that, I wanted to talk about. And I think I posted recently over it, but it's really about tuning in, figuring out what your unique gift is, and making sure you're sharing it from a place of love. Yeah, it kind of all ties into, I read a Bible passage this morning, and it talked about that, about love. Love is the ultimate, act of selflessness for others. And therefore, everything we do or think should come from a place of love. And, it reminded me of kind of what I've been going through in terms of everything that's happened and resetting, recentering, refocusing. But, when I was caring for Buck, I was giving a lot of love. And, then he passed, and it was a little time to grieve, and didn't totally get that out of the way. But then it was like I had to care for some other people. And I found that not having fully grieved of all the love I had just spent with Buck, then you find yourself empty with hardly anything to give. It's just a mix of situation and circumstance. And you feel like you get run into the ground. You feel like you have no love to give because you're still trying to recoup, you know, whatever it was you had. And so it was kind of like I had to slow down, and that was through setting boundaries, letting go of a few clients, and kind of recentering and slowing down and going, hey, let's get back to the center here. Let's get back to the purpose. Why did I start this? You know, to hear other people's stories and inspiration, to inspire others, give people a different perspective. What was this from? This was from a place of love, from finding myself lost, not knowing what to do, having to pick up the pieces, reinvent myself, and, you know, try to move forward. And the podcast was a way to do that, to tell those stories, to express feelings, to connect with people, whether we're connecting in real time or not. We're having a moment wherever you're listening to this. So, yeah, I needed to make sure that it was time for me to slow down and refocus. And it kind of really started with loving myself and I think setting boundaries. And doing the slowdown was an act of self love. That whole, it's never more true. You gotta give to yourself. You cannot pour from an empty cup. And I find myself, the cup slowly filling this week, maybe the end of this week. Slowly, I am shifting back to normal. But in that process, it came over me that I just wasn't feeling connected. I wasn't feeling the love, in touch with others. Some of the things that would normally inspire emotion have failed to inspire emotion. Like I said, last week's episode said, I feel flat, void of joy. So, yeah, I posted on it. And for me, I think it's about doing what I'm doing, slowing down, making sure that whatever it is I'm doing it for the right reasons. And that it's with purpose, because I feel like it gets lost easily. We get wrapped up in certain projects, like I was with Buck, and because of that, I had to stop interviewing. But I wanted to keep podcasting, so I took on solo stuff. And then through some courses I took, I ended up with your peak performance partner, but that just didn't feel aligned. And circling back to this and what I enjoy and what I love, getting back to maybe true purpose and recentering versus growing into something totally different. Because I think at my core, at my essence, this is what I am. This is who I am. This is what I enjoy to do. But we kind of go through these cycles where we figure out, keep doing this, stop doing this, do more of this, do less of that. And through a system of trial and error. And that's how we learn. It's just cycle after cycle. It kind of reminds me of, when Buck would talk about revelations of never knowing when they're going to come, never knowing when they're going to end, these hard cycles, never knowing if this hard cycle is going to be your last one. Does it result in the end? I'm starting to notice the patterns and the cycles. And, I know a lot for me, I talked about living in lack, kind of. It was, with Buck ending, yeah, that's a job. It's also a source of income. And then you're looking for other ones. And then, um, I had other jobs, but they weren't serving me. They were taking too much out of me and having to make that conscious effort to say, no, I'll just have to do with less for the moment, and switch back into things I enjoy that are going to make me money. As I was doing before I took on Buck's role. But that whole, feeling like, oh, I'm going from this to that. I had so much momentum. And so slowing it down and shifting it is very difficult. And there was a while that I felt like I was at a complete standstill, turning in circles, trying to decide which direction to go until I finally just landed back on, hey, this is where I feel aligned. This is where I feel purpose. And, now after a week of that, kind of catching up on sleep and mental rest, I guess you could say, after stepping away from people. Um, yeah, I feel like I'm shifting the energy back. I need to regain momentum. Get the like those little clicky balls on people's desks, and they can find a good rhythm, but then they can get out of sync, and you got to get them back. But that's kind of where I was, and let me see what I wrote down here. Like drink. You have to. That's what it was. I have to write better. Listening Shawn Ryan Show. I think Brett Cooper, who was for the Daily Wire. Great episode. About halfway through, she was talking about grief, and this kind of leads into what I was talking about earlier. Was I think that not having fully grieved and whatnot. She said grief is a little bit like a patchwork quilt, and that's kind of how I feel like it's been, only in as it relates to time, you know, a little bit of healing here, a little bit of healing there, because other things come in and fill up the space and the void. We fill it with being busy. Oh, and it's but yeah, so blah 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 blah. Yeah, she also spoke of cardinals and red birds, feeling like her deceased brother when she sees red cardinals, which I thought that was interesting because I've always felt the same way, that they were loved ones in my past. And um, even one of my offices, I would have a red cardinal that would come and sit on my windowsill outside the office. And then every spring, which we'll have to see, we'd have cardinals that come and build a nest in the tree outside of our bedroom window and outside my mom's bedroom window. Um, yeah, the other thing about that Brett Cooper episode is, I guess she has a podcast or something. I need to look. Cooper Confidential or something, but she says she likes stories because you're able to learn why people do what they do, why they are the way they are, which is the same reason I really enjoy stories. Because I think there's always something in it, like a lesson. And, it reminds me of like today, one of the passages in the Bible, my daily read was, speaking in parables. And um, there's a deeper meaning. And so sometimes with, you know, telling other stories, getting the perspectives, the deeper meaning, the parable of it all, there's a lesson. But yeah, I really resonate with her. For a 23-year-old, that's what Shawn Ryan was saying is impressive. She's got it together. But you listen to the episode and she's experienced a lot of life and processed a lot of things that took me a long time to figure out. But she did start therapy at 14. Of course, therapy is taken on the whole, how it's viewed and whatnot. But yeah, I had this interesting thought of, like I was saying, slow down. There's this song by the Dirty Heads called Slow Down. And they say we're all running in the same race. Ain't nobody winning. So you better get to living. Everybody slow down. We all get the same end, regardless of how much money we make, how successful a title we get, how big of a house. We're all subject to the same end. Yeah. So you got to think about what is life really about? Is it about me grasping at these things to provide for my family a better life, more, more, more? Is it about having enough and sharing moments, love? Um, you know, kind of circling back to love is supposed to be the most important thing. And it makes me think of religion. I don't know what I was watching or what I was thinking or why I was so deep in thought regarding this. But I just found it interesting that, oh yeah, because one of the Bible passages today it said, I have believers everywhere. So connect, and love. And it made me think of religion in that, I compare it to water. We all know what it is. We all call it something different. We all know we need it. Um, but with religion, it's wild that they're also similar premises, different things, but yeah, they all think they're right. I mean, of course, we all think we're right. I mean, if you're given a test and there's multiple choices, there's five of us, let's say five religions. We all choose a different answer to the test question, but there's only one correct answer. Each person is going to think they're right. That's how religion is. Only with these religious and more metaphysical things, I mean, if you believe in God, if you believe in spirits, if you believe in mediums being able to channel spirits as being a way that proof of an afterlife or something bigger, something more. But it's like, how do we really know the right answer if you've never spoken to anyone who's died? I mean, you have the near-death experiences and whatnot. But then again, it's like some people believe those things and some people don't. So whether or not you believe that is going to be based on whether or not you believe that in the first place. But with everyone wanting to be right and nobody being certain who really is, there's still an underlying current or theme of love. You know, we fight because we want to be right. We want to be the one with the right answer. We want to shout it from the rooftops, hey, I'm right. There's something as humans we love about that. Really not everybody can be right. So the underlying theme and current is love. We just love one another regardless of those differences. If we respect them and say, hey, you do you, man. If that's what you want to believe, then you can believe that. That's what gets you through your day. I mean, as long as it doesn't involve harming others, then whatever. You know, some people believe ranch, sweet tea, and eggs are good. I do not. I don't eat them. I don't like them. Um, some people believe alcohol is good. I do not because I know I cannot drink it. So, yeah, but it doesn't matter. I'm not out there trying to get you to quit drinking if you don't have a problem with it. If you have a problem with it and you need my help, I'll be more than happy to help you. But, you know, you do you. And I want to love you as that and love people as that. And I think there's a lesson there in that we could all just kind of love each other as we are. You know, that whole saying, meet them where they are. Um, kind of forget about the differences and realize that, you know, like I say, love is the underlying currency. And that's what was in the Bible this morning. That's what should be front facing. It's how we should navigate the world. And it's certainly something I'm trying to reconnect with and get back to. But it took me stepping back and loving myself for a minute. And the older I get, the more I realize how important it is I do that. You know, I think, I don't know if it's youth, something you just have more youth maybe equals more capacity. I mean, when you were young, you could go out and drink all night, no sleep, go to work and pull a 24 and whatever. But the older you get, the harder it gets. Maybe that's why we don't set boundaries till we get old. Oh, yeah. And that was kind of the thing was I had this interesting thought of how I'm an only child, so I enjoy being alone. I am the main character in the movie. That is my life. And you equally on your side. But, you know, as somebody who serves others, I've always said, well, life is not about me. Even though my life really is about me, if I'm the main character. But in service to others, I think, you know, what I'm trying to say is I've always seen the bigger picture and that I'm just a little piece, one little person. But I understand that everybody has a value. I've always understood it. Just because they weren't as academically gifted as I was didn't mean that they were less than. I mean, they could build stuff, fix stuff because they took shop and knew how to work on cars, and I didn't. I was a sick child. I didn't go out much. And I've always inherently kind of understood that and felt like I conducted myself as such, understanding how all the many pieces, all the people in the world fit together to get the bigger picture. And, you know, only by impacting the little pieces, if everyone decides on love, then can we impact the bigger picture and change the world? You know, one person at a time, one listen at a time, one message at a time, one episode at a time. Um, Yeah, I just think it's an interesting concept that, I had that thought that I don't know. I've always kind of seen the bigger picture and don't feel that it's always been about me, but sometimes I feel like I should be more selfish, need to be more selfish. But the reality is I'm happiest when I'm adding value to others or a situation. Part of it's about being my best self, but I like to contribute. So it makes me feel good. Doing things for others makes me feel good. That's why I do. It's almost a gift and a curse. That's the gift I've been given, and that's the blessing I have to receive. And it's super duper hard in a world filled with hucksters and, uh, I'm just baffled how I find myself at 48 years old recording a podcast, posting on social media, having to say, hey, here I am. It's because I'm really not that kind of person. It's not the kind of person I ever aspired to be. Is like, hey, look at me. I'm so important. No, I'd actually rather be unknown and successful, but the reality of it is in this day and age, success and kind of being known are hand in hand. I mean, the world we live in is just so different with social media. It's like we're all these little individuals, like you're your individual self, you're advertising you, what you do, who you are your brand. And we have these platforms, which are great, that offer each of us this way to advertise our gifts, our abilities, our services, what we have to offer the world, what we have to offer one another. Sometimes the content is the offering. I mean, I follow podcasts and stuff, and if I see something interesting, then I go and check it out. That's how I find out about stuff. So it's like this hybrid model of news, um, art, learning, this digital age. But this is the world. And at 48, I could be one of those people like, oh no, I'm not going to fool with any of that. And I'm just going to not adapt and be left behind and end up like Buck with a landline and a computer that's janky and always being hacked. And or you adapt and get with the times and learn, learn the skill, learn how to use, learn how to post, learn how to edit, um, learn how to speak in front of cameras, learn how to step into your voice, especially with text messaging and digital communication. We communicate verbally so much less now. I think even talking is a skill. It is. I mean, there's people who are social and people who are not, people who are awkward in it. So, yeah, it's 100% a skill. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the term socially awkward. All right. I think I've about summed up some of the things I wanted to talk about. Maybe got a good half-hour rant in there. Something to hold the listeners over, hold you guys over till I start getting some interviews back. And it gives me a chance to unload my brain a little bit, practice being on the mic, connecting, just getting back into the habit, getting back into the rhythm, getting back into the flow, and slowing down, enjoying it, making sure I'm loving it, and that as I reach out to each and every one of you, I hope we're connecting in some way. I hope that the messages resonate. I hope you ask yourself the question, are the things I'm doing coming from a place of love? And if not, how can I make them? What is my gift? How does it fit into the bigger picture of the world? How can I recognize that and support others with their gifts? How do our gifts fit together? Yeah. Reflect, ask yourself some questions. Because, after all, we need to make a better world, right? I'm 48. I'm on the tail end. Maybe not with technology, maybe halfway, maybe less than, depending on how technology evolves. But regardless, even if not for ourselves, for our children and their children and the people who come after, that's why we need a better world and better people. But a better world starts with better people. Better people start with better thoughts and information, perspectives, understanding they're not alone, knowing somebody else has overcome it, so can you. There's a lot of value in that. So until next time, go out and be the person that you would want to meet.
Let go.